There is a space in my heart where I find the truth. I find me in you, a truth beyond what you may see now. But when we are one, we bring more good about. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. I see with new eyes, allow and unfold, embrace and let go, trust the flow. There's a freedom in love when you follow your heart. Together we are stronger than we could ever be apart. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. Breathe in and out. Slowly feel all that's around you. All that you feel, all that you know. Let it go. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite, yeah, when we unite, oh, we unite, yeah, yeah, when we unite, yeah, yeah. You are welcome here. Love is welcome here. Peace is welcome here. You are welcome here.
Hello there. Welcome to all of you out in the ethers. You are welcome here. I am Reverend Cindy Grimes, and I am the spiritual director of Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. And I am so glad that you have chosen to spend a little time with us, whether you're watching live or if you're watching a recording. As I said, you are welcome here, and we appreciate your spending the time with us. Going to be having a conversation today with one of my dear friends on a topic that I think is really super important for each one of us, anybody who's in relationship, and that's all of us, right? So, but before I get into any more of an explanation of what we're talking about, I think we'll just do our general intro and do our welcome. These are the things that we value at Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. We are just one of many centers for spiritual living that are located all over the world. They're all independent. Each one gets to pick their values, even though we're in the larger umbrella of Centers for Spiritual Living. So these are the things that we chose about 4 or 5 years ago of things that are really important for us in this community. And so we start with spiritual growth and practice, which is the whole reason that we come together, right? You're at a spiritual center. We want to talk about spiritual practices, things like meditation and prayer and mindfulness, etc. So we do those things so that we learn together and grow with one another. We value love. We believe that love is the essence of who we are as these spiritual beings having a human experience. And that's, for this thing that some of us call God, it equates with love as well. And we value appreciation. The word appreciation means things grow, right? When your money appreciates, that means it's growing. So what we give gratitude for, what we appreciate, grows in our awareness. So that also is very important to us to give gratitude and to appreciate this amazing gift and wonder of life. The next thing on our list is community. There are things I'm learning more and more that there are things that we can only learn in the context of community. We can do lots of things on our own. We can read those books, and we can watch YouTube videos and TED Talks and listen to podcasts. And that's great for our own for our growth as individuals. And that is necessary as well. But we need to come together in community for support and for many other things. So anyway, that's on my mind. So you're getting a little more of an explanation. We value freedom. That's freedom to express, freedom to be. We believe we all come here with gifts and passions and things that are each ours to do. And so we value having the freedom to do that, to be who we came here to be in this world. We value creativity. We believe that is the way that we are like our creative essence, right? That we are created in the image and likeness of the Creator itself, meaning that we have that capacity. We have a capacity to create as well. The most important thing, which is our own experience. We value health and wholeness, and we mean that in its broadest sense. So health of mind, body, spirit, emotions, all of it is super important. We value generosity. Again, it's about giving. And, as we give, we receive. And so we are a very generous group of people, and we think that's important. And we value as well financial well-being, because, of course, that's the currency of how things work in this natural world, that we need financial abundance to pay our bills and take care of ourselves. So that's the list of things that are important to us, and this is our vision. We are a model center for spiritual living, as evidenced by the transformational impact we have on our own spiritual community, on the larger Centers for Spiritual Living organization, and the community at large, the world. What that means to me is that as if your life is working for you, if the things that we are talking about and teaching here resonate for you and help you live your life better, then we're doing what we came here to do. And so our mission is to empower individuals to awaken to the power and presence that lies within and all around them, so they can live their best lives. And so that means we have an idea about this thing we call God, Creator, that it is everywhere present. And we are just, each one of us individual people are individualized expressions of that one, like drops of water in the ocean of life. And I think that's just a really beautiful thing. So that's a little bit about our background at Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. And as I mentioned, I'm the spiritual director here at the center. We do have a physical location in Ocala, Florida. And since COVID restrictions have lifted, we have been meeting again in person. But we just enjoy this format so much, this online presence, that we are continuing to do this as well. So Sunday mornings, we have one conversation when we're live together. And then this one in the afternoon, our virtual, is a little bit different. So The focus that we do in the morning is not the same as the one in the afternoon, because in this program, we are doing a program, a study that I have created that I call Self Renewal. And self stands for social, emotional, life focus, right? Social, emotional, life focus renewal, self renewal. And it's a deep dive into relationships, the things that make for a healthy relationship, for the foundation. We're going to talk about what happens when you're out there in the world, those tools, those personal things that you can use to guide you on your path, those things we call feelings and emotions, kind of what's, if our lives was like an iceberg, all you see at the tip of that iceberg is a person's behavior. Underneath the behavior is a whole lot of other stuff. So we're going to talk about the other stuff that's underneath the iceberg of behavior for our own understanding, but also in our relationships. And we're going to talk about compassion and lots of other stuff. But today specifically, the conversation is around trust, because I believe trust to be the bedrock of healthy relationships, whether we're talking about trusting ourselves or trusting other people. And of course, self trust starts within too, and it ripples out. So I have invited a dear friend of mine, one of my friends that I met through the ministerial program, and we have laughed and played and had many wonderful times together. It's just a wonderful relationship, and you have seen her before if you watch us. And I'm going to bring in Reverend Marie Kirkland. Hi, Rev Marie.
Hi, how are you? Good morning,
I
good
am
afternoon, and
wonderful.
wherever people may be in the world, good generic time of the day. So good to be here.
It's morning somewhere, right?
Exactly,
Even if
exactly.
it's not morning on the East Coast, it's morning somewhere.
Yes, yes,
Oh, my friends, thank you. I think we probably should pray in. Maybe would you do that for us?
yes,
I love
yes.
for my folks to hear
Um,
different people praying. We all have a different way, a little bit different way that we do it. So have at it, my
yes,
friends.
indeed. Yes, so I invite us, you and I, and those listening in to simply just go within and take a breath. And in this one breath, this is what I know and affirm. And that there is only one life, one presence, one essence of all of life. And it expresses as each of us, it expresses in our relationships, in our love, in our wisdom, in our truth, in our very presence, in the very way that we show up. And so, in this appreciation of life, in this appreciation of trust and truth, I know and claim that this session is divinely guided and that what is being shared is truth for each and every person in their own particular way. And so I speak a word of blessing upon CSL Ocala, upon Reverend Cindy and myself as we step into this conversation, this deep conversation about trust. And so I simply allow it to be, knowing that the self renewal and the life renewal is ever present. I let it be so, and so it is.
Hmm. And so it is. Thank you, my dear. That was lovely, lovely, lovely. As always. I
Yes.
am so excited about this conversation with you. I would like for people to know a little bit about your background.
Hmm.
Just share a little bit about your, especially who you before ministry, because I know you carry all of
Oh,
that with you.
yes, yes. So, a little bit about myself. My focus, and for those of you who know me, know this. My focus is alignment. It is spiritual alignment and practical spirituality, and so bringing this forth in our everyday life and living intentionally. And as we do so, we deepen our relationships with the God of our understanding, with ourselves, and with the people in our lives. And we're able to do our good work, living aligned and living forward. Now, why is that important? For me, I've had different backgrounds. And what I found as I transitioned into each background, including um, spirituality in a formal sense is that maybe there was a little bit of being out of alignment. And I think that's true for a lot of people because we may no, we focus on our spirituality maybe in the work in the morning. So we'll do our spiritual work, we'll journal, we'll do our affirmative prayer, we do all of that. And we'll come to our centers on Wednesday, or we'll come to classes and we'll attend on Sunday. And then the rest of the week, we may be a little trying to trying to do both. So sometimes we live a hybrid experience, right? So we have our spirituality and then the rest of our life. And so I found that to be true. I'm retired military. I retired in 1995, and then I had 11 years where I was in financial services, and so I had a financial firm. And what I found that was most important to me was to live my spiritual life and the rest of my life together. So I'm also an intentional living coach, right? So life coach. So I do that as well. And so that's what's important, is to bring all of me and all of what I am doing and being into the world in alignment, right? And not to betray or leave behind any part of myself. So that includes military and the discipline and the strength that I learned there, the financial services and running a business. And I'm also currently I'm doing my doctoral studies for psychology. So that's just a little bit about me.
You go, girl.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love it. We have, I don't know that there are very many ministers in our movement that, came up in the movement and said, I'm going to be a minister. Like everybody has done
Mm-hmm.
something else,
Mm-hmm.
right? Almost
Yeah.
everybody. There may be
There's a few.
two,
There's a few.
maybe
Mm-hmm.
two, three, something like that, who have come up that way. But most
Mm-hmm.
of us have had other very full lives that we bring to this work. And so, with your ministry, living aligned,
Yes.
I
Yes.
think of it as also integrity, being in integrity.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think of people to have these discussions, about trust and respect and boundaries and accountability and those things, I think about you, Marie. You are like the face of God that shows up in my mind. And it's probably your military background. I don't know, but I think
Mm,
of you as like you're just this very direct, kind of straight arrow kind of person.
thank you.
And
Thank you.
it shows in your life in a lot of ways, in a lot of really good ways.
Yeah.
Things I feel like I could use a little more of myself.
Well, thank you, my friend. And I so benefit and grow from your compassion and your truth and the way you have guided me. And I will say, it hasn't been an official mentorship, but yes,
Mhm.
indeed, you have been my mentor on this path. So thank you.
Oh, likewise,
Yes.
likewise. So it's a great friendship,
Mm-hmm.
and what an important topic, I think.
Yes.
As I mentioned, in doing this peace building work and work in the prisons and in my social work background and work in ministry, all of these things, as I've tried to kind of boil down the essence of what's important in our relationships, right? That social,
Mm-hmm.
emotional life focused. I think I really feel like it starts with trust in
Mm-hmm.
relationship.
Yeah.
Like healthy, good relationship has to
Yes.
have a foundation of trust. Otherwise, you can't accomplish anything.
I agree. In thinking about this before we came on today, I thought about how trust is actually the currency of relationship. So
I
either
like
it
that.
appreciates or depreciates that relationship, and it's either missing, is in conflict, it just shows up, it's fractured, broken, missing, or non-existent, or it is
Mhm.
whole. Or that trust is whole. So it's interesting,
I have
right?
to write that down because I want to be able to remember that trust is the currency of relationships.
Yes, yes.
Rev Marie. That is awesome. I want to remember this. Here we go. Let me put it in the chat and bring it here because you're so right. You're so right. And I think it's maybe I think it's Stephen Covey who I use a lot for this section in this conversation
Mm-hmm.
of trust because he has that book called The Speed of Trust.
Right, right.
Yeah, and I don't even know if that's something he said, but it's something that should be in the book.
I'm, I don't know if it's in the
Because
book, but it just came forward. So
yes, yes, because it's
yes.
he
Mm-hmm.
uses the analogy of a bank account,
Mm,
you know, and
mm-hmm.
when there's trust in a relationship, people will give you leeway.
Yes.
Right? You can make a
Yes, indeed.
mistake, you can be misinterpreted, whatever it is, but if there's trust,
Mm-hmm.
then we can move through those things quickly. But when there's not, you know, when trust has been removed from that bank account, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to
Mm-hmm.
buy anything when you're in a deficit, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. And when it doesn't balance, you know,
Yes,
when it, and now
yes.
sometimes it's not always going to be, and this is true in life. So I think that in life there's a dynamic equilibrium, and I think that's also true in trust. And so what what may be important or where trust is in one area, right? It may be stronger in one area and then different in others. So I think that's an interesting concept. Yeah. It's
Yes.
interesting, especially. I want to throw this in there, especially as it relates to ourselves, right? And
Yeah.
um, and so I think I mentioned earlier that you know, the relationship that we have with ourselves is very important, right?
Hmm.
Of course, the relationship with the God of our understanding. And now look at that, and if we're looking at the relationship with the God of our understanding, and there is trust because we're awakened, and and we look at principles and qualities of God, and then if we look at ourselves and we're not trusting that we see those qualities within ourselves,
Right.
then we're looking at the level of self trust, right? And so, can we not trust ourselves but trust other people? I don't know.
Mm. Ooh. That's a good question. That's a really good question, Marie. And I have to think back on my journey.
Right,
And I would
right.
say that there were many years that I trusted other people more than I trusted myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, there's experts in everything. So I would have to ask, I'm going to make a decision. So I need to get
Uh-huh.
this person's opinion and that one's opinion and the other one and read this book. And like, you know, it was nerve wracking to have to get so much information before making a decision from other people. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
now, you know, I think between growing older, of course, more maturity, being on the spiritual path, it's now flipped where I tune into myself more. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
really care so much what other people have to say or think, unless they do, you know, unless it's something that involves them. But if it's something about
Right,
me,
right.
who knows better for me than myself? But I was
Absolutely.
not there. I was not always there. I mean, I had to grow
Right.
into that understanding and that awareness.
And I so appreciate you sharing that because I've had, oh my goodness, you know, I've had those experiences where it was the opinion of others, right? That I maybe whether I trusted it or not, or trusted them or not, the opinion of them, right, was it seemed to be more important than what my confirmation of myself was. And so
Yes.
that trust in it and building that trust and restoring the trust that was innately mine within myself was so important, you know, for me to say, okay, this is who I am. This is what my life philosophy is. This is the spiritual philosophy that is the bedrock of the foundation of the work I do in the world. My life philosophy. Here's my boundaries, and you know, I have to trust myself a little bit to be able to do that. You know, to make those bold statements. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I just was wondering as you were saying that, it had me thinking about what is it exactly that I did that had me learn to trust myself.
Wow.
And I'll
Mm.
tell you one thing that has happened this, and it's a continual growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a continual growth. And I shared this as well this morning, this imagery, like through COVID and the pandemic, these things that have happened have shifted my view in some ways. I mean, I feel a lot like, in the Wizard of Oz, right? When Dorothy, she's like all excited to meet the wizard because he's all knowing, he's all powerful, he's all of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
everybody's shaking, right, to meet this man. And then the curtain gets pulled back and you see he's just a person like everybody else.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's what I feel like has happened to me throughout this
Mm-hmm.
pandemic, is like there are these people who have been icons or organizations and things that you think they just have it all together. And will I ever arrive at that? And
Yes.
now I'm realizing, wait a minute, nobody has it all together.
Yeah.
We're
So
all like, we're all in this thing together. I
yeah.
have to find the statement from this morning. It was so cute. Um,
Yeah. We're all on a journey.
we're all
You
on a
know,
journey. We're
we're
all on a
all on the
journey.
journey at the level of our consciousness. I
Yes.
heard a quote, and I can't remember where it came from, but I was like, wow, that's true. And it was, comparison is the thief of joy. You know, and I said,
Yeah.
I so get that. And comparing, am I, or at the level of where I want to be, is this, and trusting and knowing that, and then just simply, oh my goodness, just letting it go, you know
Yes.
and then sometimes picking it back up again. But it's an
Right.
evolution, right? It is an evolution, trusting in ourselves. And I think each time I trust, and then sometimes with the loss of trust, yeah, there is that level of, okay, pain, right? So, trust, distrust, hurt, or whatever that looks like, and then on the way to restoring it, and then knowing who we are, right? um, it gets steeper. And I
Hmm.
love how you mentioned the pandemic. What a wonderful, on this end of it, what a wonderful, what a wonderful
Right.
way to grow, right?
Yeah.
To grow
Hmm.
through those experiences. So yeah,
Absolutely.
a deep way.
Absolutely.
Let me change that word from wonderful to deep. What a
Yes.
engaging way to grow.
Yes. I found the thing I was going to share that I spoke about in our in-person group this morning. It was
Hmm.
misperceptions, not misperceptions, but myths about adulthood that we have when we're kids. Like you
Oh,
have
I
this
love to
idea of
hear
what it
that.
means to be a
Yes.
grown up, and then you
Uh-huh.
finally get here and you're like, oh my gosh, why didn't somebody tell me this before? So there were a few really good ones, but the one that I want to share, and this came from a couple of different lists like BuzzFeed,
Mm-hmm.
the 19 top myths or whatever. So this one
Mm-hmm.
said, your parents and other adults are also imposters who don't know what they're doing. Being an adult is pretending to be one. You're just winging everything. I watch a lot of YouTube videos to figure things out. Then you go to bed and do it all over again tomorrow.
Oh my goodness, those are good. Those are so good.
There was some other really just it was a lot of fun. Another, I assumed most adults were grown-ups, right?
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be free. A
Yeah.
big myth is that adulthood equals freedom. I've never felt so obligated, tied down, and locked in. I thought, oh, poor guy needs to find a CSL.
Oh
I
my
was
goodness.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think realizing that other people are struggling, and of course, as you said, some people are ahead in certain ways or more
Hmm.
competent in certain areas than others, but we're all just human beings on this
Yes.
crazy journey trying to make the best of it. And so, cut ourselves
Hmm.
some slack, be okay, it's all right.
Indeed. And we're going to grow. Like I just shared, we live at the level of our consciousness. And
Yes.
and I think that is a very good thing, because I know I'm going to continue to grow, and then I'll live at that level of consciousness.
Yes.
And sometimes I'll pause, and then I'll be there, until I can know something greater.
Right, right,
Yes, and
right.
practice. Yeah.
Nice. So how have you come into trusting yourself more? Was
I
it like, I'm saying, for me, it was a journey. Like it didn't
hmm
just happen. I did not trust myself. Were you more
hmm
trusting of your own inner voice as a child, or did you have to grow into it as well?
hmm Wow. Wow. Okay. That's a good question. Well, as a child, I knew because, okay, all right. So as a child, we moved around a lot. Okay. And so I had an interesting childhood where there was a big chunk of my childhood where I needed to be very independent, right? For myself and for my siblings. And I knew that there was something greater. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know what it would be, but I knew that there was something greater, right? And so I went into the military young at 18, and I left at I think a week and a half, exactly a week and a half after I graduated high school. Right?
Wow.
So I knew that there was something greater, and I trusted in that, even though I didn't know what it was. But I knew that if I took a step, that I will be able to keep taking a step and get to whatever was calling me. So I knew that there was something that was calling me, and it would show up in my life in a great way. Now, were there bumps along the way and detours and doubt and fear and living in that intersection that I talk about? Yes, yes. So one of the ways that I became more trusting of myself is really going through several dark nights of the soul, you know? And one of those is like after I retired from the military, okay, so now determining who I am, what does that look like? And just going within and finding out what is important for me,
Yeah.
what's important, what are my personal values, and then begin living those. And over time, letting go of some things that wasn't important, you know. So
Yeah.
that's how I began trusting, and I think it really started showing up in a profound way of course, pandemic over the last few years. But even right before that, I realized recently, and before then, but recently, I have released that fear of missing out, So I do things really in my own way, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
So and create new paradigms. So I think that's when I really started really trusting myself. Is when I was able to let go of some opinions on how I should be in the world, or how I
Right.
should show up as a minister in the world, or whatever those are.
Now, was your family, I mean, to go off right after high school like that, were they supportive of that?
Yes, absolutely.
They were.
Yes,
Okay. All right.
yes.
So you
Hmm.
didn't have to push against anybody and say, I'm going to do it whether you like it or not. It was like, you had the support there to do that.
Yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Very
Yeah.
good. Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you brought up the conversation about trusting self because of
Hmm.
course that ripples out then to the next
Hmm.
thing. And I think the problem with feeling like you can trust other people and not trust yourself, that stuff will come back and bite you.
Yes, because I'm
Right?
putting somebody else before me,
Exactly. Yes.
before my thoughts and what's important for me. I'm putting their importance first,
Right. Right.
and for me, that doesn't work. Now, let me tell you, I sometimes I have to catch myself. You know, like I'm a person who loves to support other people and everything. So sometimes I have to stop, because often when we're trusting or when we're looking at boundaries, and I think all of this is just one conversation. Um, what is the trade-off? Yes. What is
Mm-hmm.
the trade-off? So if I trust that this other thing is more important than what my life purpose is, then I'm giving that more importance than who I am to be here in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so you have to stop and pause and choose.
Right. And then, the thought that's come to me now from what you're saying is, so you extend trust to someone and they break it. It's betrayed.
Oh, oh, that's
So
individual
now
stuff.
you no
Okay.
longer trust them, but you also don't trust yourself because you extended trust
Mhm.
to them in the first place. So now there's that double edged thing. If I so I say that again, you're looking confused. If I put
Yeah,
my
well, I'm
trust
just trying to
in
see what that
somebody,
means for me. But go
yeah,
ahead.
that I trusted somebody and they
Mm-hmm.
betrayed that trust. Now,
Mm-hmm.
not only do I not trust them, I don't trust myself either for letting
Mm-hmm.
myself go down that road.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm thinking of a
Yeah.
situation where, trust had been broken for me, and then to be in a relationship with that individual where, this trust has been broken now, and I can't say, my gosh, can I trust this, for the rest of
Mm-hmm.
my life or whatever. I can't say that. Like, I don't even know if I could be in
Mm-hmm.
relationship with this person. And
Yeah.
then the realization was that, well, I don't need to decide now if I'm going to trust somebody else or this
Oh.
situation for the rest of my life. I
Mm-hmm.
just need to trust that I'm going to have the answers I need when I need them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I don't know what's going to come up in any circumstance in the future, but I don't have to know. My trust
Right. Right.
comes from knowing that there is a power and presence that's in and around and through me that guides me. And I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
know what I need to know when I need to know it. And
Yes.
that was a game changer
Yes.
for me.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely. Yes. And I was thinking when you first posed that statement, how that shows up for me. And it's definitely where I am at in the relationship with that person. So if it's a close person, a person who I'm in constant interaction with and we're close, I think that is something a little different than someone who may be an acquaintance, or you know what I mean, and there's not a constant relationship. So recently I became aware that somebody did break there was mistrust that I wasn't aware of, but I became aware of, and they broke a confidence, right?
Mhm.
And and so I had to think about it. Okay, so now what does this mean, right? What does this mean for me? And did I show up in a way? Did I show up in a way that was authentic? You know,
Mm.
was I who I am meant to be? Did I show up authentically? Right?
Right.
So where there's always cause and effect, um, and so I had to look at that, and I said yes. You know, I showed up in a way that was appreciative, right, of a relationship. We just talked about that currency, right, and so the
Mm.
currency of trust. Did I show up in a way that supported that currency to grow? And so the answer was yes. And then I had to look at, was there a deficit? And for me, it definitely was. Now, okay, do I continue to bank on or put or add to this relationship? You know,
Mhm.
or is the relationship complete, or is it just where it is? So it's interesting how we look at things and where we focus our time and attention to what works for us or what doesn't work for us.
Yeah.
And it's been my experience, the more I focus my attention on what doesn't work, it continues to not work.
Right. Right.
And there's more work that I need to do for me,
Yeah.
inside. So I don't know.
Well, I want to, in the time, don't have a whole lot of time left, but in the time we have remaining, I'd
Hmm.
like to talk about what we can do to restore trust when it's been broken. Because we know there's, I
Ah,
mean, just said it, right? That kind of stuff happens. So how do you
hmm.
restore trust with yourself? How do we restore trust in relationships with other people?
Hmm.
Um, and in this, the Covey book has a lot of things. I
Hmm.
mean, he's got like a whole list.
Yes.
I don't know, 15.
Yes. A whole list.
Yes, which we're
Yes.
not going to get into, but maybe just a few points that I think are really important. Um, let me see. Let me see if I can think. I'm going to pull up a couple here. I don't think I can put it on the screen. I didn't create a photo out of it. I mean, a picture image. But anyway, so maybe how about just straight talk, authenticity,
Yes.
tell the truth,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Tell the
I,
truth. No
I
matter
agree.
how hard it is, you
Hmm.
just tell it.
Yes. Have those courageous conversations.
Courageous
Yes.
conversation.
A-
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
in addition to straight talk, what about as we are in relationship with each other, right? To set up the relationship. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so sometimes we do this in our classes and things that we have together, right? So how can I, ask those questions? If something comes up, what's the best way for us to connect about that? You know? So and then when you have that courageous conversation, you're talking straight, it's not anything new. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. We did have that agreement.
That's
Mm.
right. So what you're talking about is my other favorite topic with you, which is boundaries, right? Like
Yes.
these are the parameters, right? These are the
Mm-hmm.
boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
This is the guidelines, so to speak, of
Mm-hmm.
our relationship and our interaction with each other. And then we have to hold one another to those things.
Yes. Yes. With compassion, you know, with
Sure.
love. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think holding ourselves accountable for those things. I mean, really, I don't even think you can actually hold another person accountable. I think we all have to do that for ourselves. Depends on how you use that word accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
if you use it in terms of taking responsibility, the only person I can take responsibility for is me. Therefore, the only one I can
Right.
be responsible for or
Right.
accountable to is myself.
Yeah. I like that word responsibility because it means being responsible. So how am I
Yeah.
going to respond to that? Yes.
Yes, the capacity to respond. Let me see what
Mhm.
else. How about delivering results versus making excuses?
Mm. Yeah.
That's,
Yes. In
that's a
terms
good one.
of trust. Yes. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, because
Hmm.
one of the things that we talked about last week with this was that trust has two components. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just integrity, although obviously that's important, for trust. If you do what you say you're going to do, to live in alignment, to use your word, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
that there is that aspect of trust, but there is also a competence that goes with
Mm-hmm.
trust, right? So
Hmm.
I may trust that you're a wonderful, somebody's a wonderful human being, but that doesn't mean I'm going to let somebody do surgery on me that doesn't have the competence to do that, right? So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also the capacity, you know, because
yes.
we're talking trust, boundaries, and competence. And does if a person makes a commitment, because commitment is part of it, keeping commitments, do they
Mm,
have that capacity to keep that commitment? So considering that before it is being done, because
yeah.
yes, I'm looking at the list as well. So keep
Yeah, yeah,
commitments
yeah,
versus versus being unreliable. So yes, yes, and competency definitely.
yeah. And it's not just commitments with other people, right? It's keeping our commitments to ourselves.
Yes.
And I think that is probably a place where I would say I personally fall a little short, um,
Hmm.
because I'll make a commitment, and if I tell you I'm going to do something, I promise you I'm going to be there. But I don't always keep my promises to myself. I'm just being real here,
Hmm.
I make
Hmm.
that commitment. I'm going to, walk every day 4 miles.
Hmm.
Well, I walk most days, maybe 5, but
Right.
I don't always make the 7, and so I think we need to pay attention. Let me just speak for myself again, to pay more attention to the things that I say that I am committed to, and
Yes.
fully commit or not do it.
Yes. I have that same experience, and I have been doing that work on being committed, as committed to myself as I am to others. You
Mhm.
know,
Mm.
as committed. One of the ways I am starting to be more committed to myself is letting go of some of the things, realizing that my schedule is not supposed to be a 24-hour schedule. So doing less to become more, to become
Mm.
more of who I am. Yes.
Mm.
So
I
then I
like
have the capacity. Yes,
I
absolutely.
like that.
I don't everything doesn't have to be done today.
Right, right.
Yes.
Love that. Love that.
Doing what's essential.
And then there's one more I think on this list. I Too bad I didn't make this into something people could see better, but extending trust versus withholding it, or
Mm,
false trust is evidenced by micromanaging. Ouch.
mm. Yes, ouch indeed.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because the
And
micromanaging, of course, that's evidence there
yeah,
that you don't trust that the person can do what, you know,
right.
right? If you
Yeah,
feel like
I
you have to be on top of them, then
hmm
that's not trust.
and I agree with that. And I also have had the experience to where maybe the selection wasn't correct. Maybe, micromanaging, and we just talked about competency, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
talked about capacity, and maybe checking in with the person first. Do they have the time capacity to do something and the competency to do it? And rechecking, checking back in, right? Because everything changes, and then there would be no need for micromanaging, right?
Right.
And so I've had the experiences where I didn't check back in, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it is certainly important for us to do that, to check in and
Right.
see if it's still a fit, you know,
Yeah.
and especially when it comes to spiritual community and volunteering, right? And just ensuring that people are in alignment with what they're saying yes to, right? Because sometimes we say yes before we realize the veracity of something, how big it may be. I've done that. I don't know about you. Say
Mm-hmm.
yes and then like, oh, this is how long is this commitment, or what?
Mm-hmm.
We don't really know everything that it entails. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, I think thank you for saying that. That continual check-in,
yeah,
is still
checking
worth it.
in,
That's important to do in a relationship,
yeah.
without casting blame. It's just, let's look at this
Hmm.
again. Let's take
Yes,
a look at this,
exactly.
right? The willingness to have those conversations. Awesome. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to share. Is there anything else on the list? You're looking at it too.
um, well, create transparency versus hidden agendas. I think that's a very important one, and I think we spoke about that when we said setting up, creating the relationship from the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, love that. Well, there's a few more quotes from Covey. I want to make sure that we cover this topic of the speed of trust. And he says this: in a high trust relationship, you can say the wrong thing and people will still get your meaning. In a low trust relationship, you can be very measured, even precise, and they'll still misinterpret you.
Mm,
It then
yeah.
goes with the idea that we trust ourselves by our intentions and others by their behavior. And of course, the last one I already said. I think that's an interesting one too. We judge ourselves by our intentions and we judge others by their behavior.
Wow. Yes. Powerful.
It is because we know
Powerful.
what we mean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We know what our intention is, but we can't know what
Right.
another intention is. We only know what
Yeah.
actually happened.
So how do we restore that? How do we you know
Yeah,
experience that in a
how do we
positive
rectify
way?
that?
Yeah. What
Hmm.
do we do?
I think what you're saying is in that conversation, the courageous conversation, and also taking accountability. Again,
Mm-hmm.
I think, I mean, who among us has not hurt somebody in some way
Mm-hmm.
or another, right? An emotional
Right.
harm or whatever it is, and we don't mean it. We may not
Mm-hmm.
have meant to do it. That doesn't mean that a person wasn't hurt. That doesn't mean that you don't have to make things right. So
Right.
sometimes
Right.
it's just the acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm reminded of we're studying one of Brene Brown's books, but I'm reminded of a couple of comments and conversation that we can have when we're having these transparent conversations, like tell me more, right?
Yes,
So that we can have a greater understanding. And
yes,
with each other and with people. I would like to know more about that. Can you share more
yeah.
about what you just shared so I can understand? Yeah.
And that requires staying out of defensiveness,
Yes. Yes.
right? Staying out
Mm-hmm.
of defensiveness and staying out of judgment, which
Mm-hmm.
is really hard when you're in the midst of a situation, you feel like you've been betrayed, right? To
Mm-hmm.
be able to stay out of judgment and stay out of defense and just say, tell me more,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
What am I missing here?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Help me
Mm-hmm.
see a fuller picture of how this came to be.
Yes.
Mm, 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 mm. That's why
So,
this is peace building.
indeed. Indeed. Yes.
Yes. And it's not easy. It's not easy always, but I think it gets easier.
Mm-hmm.
I think it gets certainly. I will speak just to this topic specifically about trusting self.
Hmm.
That is something that has become much easier.
Yes. Yes, it has for me as well. It
Yeah.
has for me as well. And
Yes.
more enjoyable.
And more enjoyable. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And and even when you still you maybe make a mistake, you don't come through, whatever, something happens, things
Hmm.
are not exactly the way you expected or hoped.
Hmm.
You can still have compassion for yourself and
Yes. Yes.
pick yourself
Hmm.
up and keep on going. Practice again.
Hmm.
Because life is will always give you another opportunity
Hmm.
to practice, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Oh my
Pick
goodness.
ourselves up and take another step.
That's it.
Yes.
That's
Do
it.
our work, then take another step. Feel what we need to feel, then take another step.
Right, right.
You
Well,
know,
at least
I just don't want to discount the fact that sometimes, as you're sharing and as I'm sharing, sometimes these steps and this trust, it is painful. And, doing what is needed, to feel what we need to feel and go within and do work or seek support, from a minister or a practitioner or, you know, wherever you find support, is important. Right? And
mhm.
then take another step, you know.
Yes, yes. Your community, as I said earlier,
Hmm.
is very
Yes.
important. Well, do you have anything else and anything you'd like to share as we close this out?
Hmm.
I'm going to put your quote up here.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Trust is the currency of relationships. It's yes, it's brilliant, it's true, it's succinct.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Yes,
The only
it
thing
is.
I like to share is just to trust, go within and trust within yourself, and
Mm,
choose, you know. Yes. Choose to live a line. We're always living anyway, so we can choose how we want to do that.
yes.
Yes.
Yes. So trust yourself. Trust that power and presence that is inside of you.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Even if you don't trust the human
Hmm.
aspect necessarily, you can know that
Yes.
that power and presence is there for
Hmm.
you. Yeah.
Indeed.
If we could just trust that, like the sun is going to come up in the morning
Hmm.
every day. The sun is going to come up every day. Like, what if we could
Yes.
just trust that thing we call God is for
Hmm.
us, that it's on our side, that we can tap into it and trust that,
Hmm.
even if you
Yes.
don't know what is going to happen or what another person is going to do.
Hmm.
Trust that.
I so agree with that. We share in our teaching, we share affirmative prayer and how it works. And we share, the 5 or 7 step treatment. We call it spiritual mind treatment, affirmative prayer. And I've often found that when I may be in a place of despair, if I can just get to the first 2 steps, God is, I am, I'm good. you know? And
Yeah.
so to me, that really, when we talk about trust and trust in, that experience
Mhm.
of God, yes.
Yeah.
So we can just get there. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you can't, make sure you got some friends you can pick up the phone. You've been on the other end of the line for me a couple of times. Hello.
Like
Right?
likewise. Right,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes. People who
Yeah.
can remind you of the truth.
Hmm.
Of the truth.
Yes, you mentioned in the beginning that we've laughed together, we had all these things, and I might add, we've cried together. So thank you.
For sure. For sure. Well, I thank you, my friend. What a wonderful conversation. And I don't know if there's anything you have, any classes, anything you want to share with our folks before we wrap this up. They can look at your
Yes,
your page
absolutely. I invite them to visit livingalignedcommunity.org.
and
Yes,
type it up.
livingalignedcommunity.org and join us in community. We're online, and yes, I would love to be in community with you as we live, now, live aligned, and live forward.
There we go.
Yeah,
Livingalliancecommunity.org.
me.org. Yes.
I hit the wrong thing, but that's okay. It's the same wherever wherever it is. Thank you so much, Marie, for this awesome conversation. Thank you for your
Thank you.
friendship and your mentoring and the platform that you created for us ministers and all the great stuff you're doing. Marie, I'm just telling you folks, Marie was ahead of the curve with her virtual ministry because she was doing it before any of us had to when COVID hit, and then became the go-to person, right, for how you do this. So thank you so much, my dear.
Thank you. It's always good to be here with you.
Till we meet again,
Peace and
take care.
blessings.
Peace and blessings. Oh, that was so fun. I love to be able to share my connections, my friends with my larger community. So you know who I'm talking about when I say I need some fun with my friends. That's one of them right there. And so now we move into the part of our conversation together of sharing our gifts and tithes. Here we go. Yes, yes, yes. I invite you to make this affirmation your own. This is an opportunity for you to be generous, for you to be generous and put that ball in motion, right? As we give, we receive. So if it's friendship that you need, be a friend, right? If it's love that you want, love people. If it's money that you need, then give money. Give money. Find those places that touch your heart, that are aligned with your values and your vision and what you're about. And I hope that we are that place for you, Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. And so we've created a few ways that you can give to the center. You can go to our website at cslocala.org/donate, or you can what's called text to tithe. If you have a smartphone, you just text to the number that's going across the screen. Once you set it up, you put the amount of money that you want to give, whether it's $20, $200, 2,000, whatever that is, and you hit send and it goes right from your account to ours. And that number is 352-320-5110. And so we just appreciate any funds that you would share with the center, and we put it to good use and just keep doing this great work. And so this is our affirmation. Again, I just encourage you to just kind of hold your hand to your heart and listen to the words and make them yours. It is the nature of life to give of itself, as it is the tree's nature to bear fruit and the flower's nature to bloom. It is my nature to share the gifts of my time, talent, and treasure. I participate in the divine flow of life, giving generously and receiving abundantly. I am blessed and I am a blessing. And I just affirm that each one of you is a blessing in your world, in your respective circles of influence, and that you're blessed right here in the center of your heart, that you feel that. And that as you go out there, you are a light to everyone whose path you cross or you walk with. And so I am grateful for that. Let's see if there's anything as far as Center for Spiritual Living Ocala goes for our announcements for today. We will be meeting in person next week. It will be our circle conversations. Every week is a different kind of modality. So in the first week of the month, we're doing spiritual practices. It's more of a workshop atmosphere. So we're not just talking about meditation, we're going to actually do it. And that goes from about 11 to 1 next Sunday, if you happen to be in the Ocala area. And then our second Sunday is a more traditional talk, which is what we did today. And then the third Sunday is circle conversations related to the topic. So our topic for our in-person gatherings is Everyday Wonder at Play. And so next weekend we'll be talking about play, our own play histories and what we can do to experience more joy and play in our lives on a regular basis. And we will be doing our virtual conversation as well. We are still talking about the foundation of healthy relationships. And so for the next couple of weeks, we will be talking about respect. Trust along with respect, they go hand in hand. They are both vital to healthy relationships of any kind. We're talking, our relationship to ourselves, right? We need to have self-respect. We need to have respect for the people in our next, right, circles. And, even the person you see in the grocery store, the person that you're passing on the road, everybody wants to feel respected. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this next section of creating healthy relationships. And so I thank you for being with us. We'll go ahead and share our prayer for protection as we close out. This comes from James Dillett Freeman in the Unity Tradition, which is like a sister organization to Centers for Spiritual Living. And the prayer goes like this: the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And I know that's the truth for you. May any challenges, any seeming challenges, just turn into stepping stones to your greater yet to be. I hope you have a fabulous week, and I look forward to catching up with you again next week. And that's it. Have a fabulous Sunday afternoon. Love and blessings.